All industries are under extreme pressure to modernize and innovate, as macro trends impact us worldwide. Today, industries use edge computing and IoT to accelerate innovation, to create new revenue streams, and to capture next-generation opportunities. Edge and IoT computing will play a key role in transforming our world, as the global economic impact of IoT may become as much as 11% of the world economy. Sensors and data will make indoor farming more productive than conventional farms. Smart lights will slash electricity costs. And connected vehicles will be everywhere. But these opportunities present enormous challenges. Limitless options call for smarter decisions in real time. The distributed nature of the edge broadens the security attack surface. Diversity of protocols makes management a daunting task. And all of these challenges require solutions that scale beyond anything done in the past. Solving them requires a digital edge-to-cloud foundation that's flexible, secure, scalable, and ubiquitous.
Good morning. I got my posse there just in case you don't applaud. I got my own group, so I'm just letting you know. Well, welcome to the future. How many of you here are Star Trek fans? Come on, you don't have to be shy. We all are. Come on, put your hands up. So finally, you have an opportunity to do all the cool things we saw on Star Trek. I'm really excited. That is my only reason to be working for Dell Technologies and VMware, to try to play with them. Remember the doors? We walked around and the doors kind of automatically open when the captains walked around. We're still doing the stupid thing of taking a badge to enter the job. I've had it for 30 years, the same badge, different companies, put it on, then the door opens. Why can't this video surveillance cameras just look at me, recognize, and open the door? Well, it's coming. Universal translator, remember that? Every alien can speak English magically. How did that happen? Well, it's coming. I saw something just the other day, startup company. As you speak, the translation comes up in different languages right on the screen. Fabulous. Self-driving cars is there. You know, this morning I actually was running late. I couldn't put my shoes on. I didn't have time to put my shoes on. I carried it in my hands, got in my Tesla, drove. And then if you came out of the house for the last about 2 minutes or so, you wouldn't see anybody in the car because I was tying my laces in the car. It's not quite self-driving, but it's getting there. So it's an exciting future that we are creating, and IoT and Edge gives you an opportunity to create that, if you will. So, but what we do in VMware and Dell is we spend a lot of time talking to our customers. And the customers typically ask me questions like, how do you do how do you use VMware technologies? How do you use Dell? They're all technical kind of questions. What has changed recently is not just CIOs and IT folks are coming to these briefings, but COOs and CTOs and business people and finance folks are coming to these meetings. And these are some of the questions they're asking you. They're asking about smart city, edge and IoT, how does it work? How do you converge IoT and OT, smart agriculture? So all of a sudden, it's all business-related questions, efficient buildings, and so on. So what we try to do is, in this presentation, try to cover as many of these questions that business people are asking us, not just what the technical folks are asking. But before we do that, I want to show something of a person who's actually doing it. So I'm going to welcome Michael Sherwood, the Director of Innovation and Technology for City of Las Vegas, Nevada, to show us how it's actually done. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. I love the weather. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice and cool.
We love your city.
I want you to love it more.
But before we get started, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your district, if you will?
Sure. So my name is Michael Sherwood. I'm the Director of Innovation and Technology for the City of Las Vegas. Many of you know Las Vegas, and we want you to know it more often, so please come out. But Las Vegas is just more about entertainment. It's a place of innovation. It's a place that constantly is reinventing itself. And we're always looking for new technology, and we see IoT as part of the future, not just because of the technology that comes with it, but the disruption that's happening in our community. We know about the Ubers and Lyfts and how that has disrupted mobility. So we're looking into the future. How do we bring IoT and bring that in and start looking at workforce development? How do we start bringing the forward-thinking ideas into the future?
Well, my wife wants me to know a little less of Las Vegas. She wants me to see a little less of it. I don't know why. I seem to do well every time I go there.
That's great. Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about the Innovation District.
So Las Vegas set up about 3 years ago when I came on board, a innovation district in downtown Las Vegas. And this innovation district basically covers technology that we use as an open lab environment. So we test all types of new sensors and systems. We have a great partnership right now with Dell and NTT that actually goes over different types of use cases we have. And up back on the slide right now is our autonomous shuttle, which was in mixed flow traffic, so it's the first shuttle in the United States to actually carry people in it and actually operate with humans and vehicles on an open roadway. And we carried over 40,000 people in a 1-year period. You can tell it's not very big, so 40,000 is a lot of numbers, a lot of people to be moving around on this track. So it's a very innovative concept, and we test things like this in our innovation district, not only to test the technology, but to understand it, learn it, and learn how to scale it. And that's one of the most important things.
I wouldn't have thought that, but I'm sure you tested it a lot. But the first day in IT, it is always a disaster when you launch a new system. So how many of you guys have launched a new system the first day and had no problems? Okay, that's what I thought. So what kind of problems did you have, when you launched it?
So for us, it was my first. I was only on the job for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I came on board. We started this pilot, so we actually were testing the shuttle out. I've never been in the shuttle, just for it's very safe though. But I went to the opening ceremonies. The mayor was there. We had a bunch of actors and actresses there. And we cut the ribbon, and I put the mayor in it, and she made her successful ride down the little strip we had and back. And I'm like, great, I'm going to go back to the office. No sooner did I thought everything was planned out. We even had, everything. We had coned off the road in certain areas. So we had, before we fully let it go into the environment, we tested everything. Well, lo and behold, the shuttle was driving, and it saw danger. It saw a truck backing out into the street. So the shuttle did what it was designed to do. It stopped. The truck driver decided he didn't see the shuttle. People inside were pounding on the glass, screaming. The guy just backed right into the shuttle. And so I'm at my office, thinking technology is great. God, I've been here 3 weeks. What could possibly go wrong? It's Vegas. Well, the shuttle was hit. So not only did Las Vegas launch the first shuttle in the United States to drive in mixed flow traffic, within 4 hours, we had the first shuttle to be in an accident in mixed flow traffic. And shortly after that, we reviewed the data from the sensors and the cameras. Yes, that was a tragic.
No, I thought it was a design. It's actually not a crash.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Okay.
But we also then had the first person cited for hitting a autonomous vehicle based on the IoT data and the sensors and the video that were on the shuttle. Within 24 hours, this talks about the resilience of the community, the resilience of the people that are part of this project and program. We basically printed a vinyl sticker out of a Band-Aid. We slapped it on the front of it, and the next morning it was back in service and successfully ran the rest of its run. And we're getting ready to launch 4 more of these in the next couple years.
Well, looks, guys, robots are giving citations to humans and putting people in jail. This is what is going to happen in the future.
No.
Okay, and it's obviously the humans' problems, right? But anyway, how does technology play into meeting your city's needs, and what are the benefits for the city of Las Vegas?
Sure. A lot of these things are fun projects. People look at them and say they're cute, they're fun. They are kind of the cutting edge as far as mobility goes. But this is the real opportunity here with IoT and sensors. This is a one-way street. You can see the arrows all over. It's really hard for a city to know how many times does someone drive the wrong way on a street. And if they do, how often does that happen? And is it a problem ever? And so this is part of our partnership. You can see the car strictly going the wrong way. But we never knew how many times the red actually indicates an oncoming car. We sort of cut the clip. A couple things about this video just for you to understand about the videos. One, we've enhanced the image. It's very clear here for you to see the demonstration. Generally, the data, when we're doing this, the video is very blurry. We do that for personal privacy information. But for you to understand it and see it, that was I wanted you to be able to see the vehicle. But with this data now, we were able to understand where do you take money and place it in a city? You know how many intersections are in your city that you live in, or how many in Las Vegas? Where do you put that signalized intersection? It's not that they're $1,000, $2,000. We're talking $500, $1 million for a signalized system in a modern city. So with the data that we're collecting through our partnership with Dell and NTT and VMware, as we actually produce these systems here, is we're actually able to know how many cars are driving the wrong way. So in this actual area here, we're actually putting a signalized intersection ahead of schedule. One, because we see how many people are actually not following the rules of the road. I mean, you can clearly see in the back, the one-way arrow back there, that when that person should have actually made a left turn versus a right turn. But now that we have actionable data, we can actually take action now in our cities to make people safer and to bring a better overall feel to the city. So obviously, we want you spending money, not in an accident in downtown Las Vegas.
Well, that was my mom, you know, the one who's driving on the, she drives always, that's
we
the
won't
only way
cite her,
she drives.
just for you. We'll keep it.
But the date, that's real, that's like last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, we pulled this specifically. We went out and looked and pulled the data. We're actually, in certain areas of the street, we're finding out that there are a lot more wrong-way drivers than we ever knew. And the only way we knew in the past when there was a wrong-way incident is there was an accident. And that's the last time. That sucks up money for an organization. When you have a city that has to deploy fire and public works crews out there to clean up something, that's taking away from other people who might be having a medical emergency at home.
Yeah.
And so by using IoT and having this data, we have the opportunity to really do things that are remarkable and really take and use our capital wisely.
You wouldn't have thought that surveillance, which a technology we've done for like years, can be enough smart surveillance and do so many things that you're talking about and more, right?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, it's not just about the vehicles. We're actually collecting. You see the individual there that's walking.
Yeah.
What we're also doing is using it for economic development. So how many people walk by a parcel of land? You can see the vacant parcel of land right behind. Well, if you're going to sell that to a developer, generally they do a lot of surveys and studies. But in most cities, you'll see that person sitting in a lawn chair at an intersection with a clipboard and they're writing down how many cars go by. Sure. We do that once every 3 to 5 years per intersection. Now we're collecting real-time data on how many pedestrians, how many bicyclists, and how many vehicles. Because maybe this doesn't need to be a 4-lane road, because it's so new video, I haven't even looked. 4-lane road, maybe it needs to be 2 lanes with a bicycle and a protected a vehicle for buses or whatever it might be. So it's really about having the data and understanding now. How do you use that data, analyze it, and make a great business decision?
So how do you convince your city to do things like this, right? I mean, it looks futuristic. You know, people want to see some other city do it first before they implement it. What did you have to specifically do to make this happen?
A lot of it comes from, I think, executive buy-in, obviously, at the very top levels. The city understands that the world is changing. Again, we want to make sure that we're building amenities in a city for the future. And I think a lot of it, it's not about the technology, it's about the amenities that technology provides. Mm-hmm. We all live in a city that either has great schools or is super safe, or we live for the amenities of a community. Las Vegas knows in order to be competitive in the future, it's about building those amenities. Right. And so it's not just, it's looking at this, but when you start providing leaders with real-time information, I say real-time, near real-time, where they can look over a month now and say, hey, we had 75 vehicles go the wrong way. That's 75 individuals who could have lost their life. Yeah. And so when you start looking at actionable data and actually being able to show it, executives get the idea. Elected leaders get the right idea. The people get the right idea. Sure. And so it's very helpful. And then when you have good partners that work with you to build these concepts out, it's even more special.
So obviously you talked about it's more than technology. You need the people, you need the buy-in, et cetera. Can you tell me a little bit about the talent? You know, how do you get the talent to come and work for you in Vegas, if you will?
Well, you know, it's a fun city to come work in. It's not that hard to come.
I know, I made it look like it's very difficult.
We have great pools and great entertainment, so not very hard. A lot of it has to do with great partnerships and relationships. And so we have a very talented team in Las Vegas. We have a very great population in general as well that's very supportive of change. Not too many cities that you know of off the top of your head that, you know, after 10 years we blow up a building that's good and we build something new there. Yeah. Or we allow you to zip line, you know, down the strip or whatever. You know, it's always changing. There's always something new in the culture. But when it comes down to a team, it's really about relationships and partnerships. And we've been very lucky to have a lot of great partnerships. Obviously, our partnership with Dell has been tremendous in bringing some of these solutions to light, leveraging technology. And a lot of what you see here, like it looks futuristic and it's not attainable. It's start small. We started with just a few intersections, and then we saw the value, and now we're actually rolling it out into more intersections downtown. So a lot of it is great partnerships, great relationships, start small, build out.
Anyway, thanks a lot. It's very exciting.
Hey, thank you very much.
Michael.
But before I go, on behalf of the city of Las Vegas, it's really worthless, but it's a little chip here just to say thank you. And please come back and visit soon. We'd love to have you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I'm going to put it on eBay for you guys if you want. If anybody wants to bid on it, get started. So anyway, that's exciting. I wanted to start with what you could do with IoT and give a real-life example before we talk about the great things that we must be doing in the architecture and technology. But let's talk a little bit about that. Before that, the technology comes in waves, as you know, and being in California, and I grew up pretty much near the ocean all my life, I'm a big watcher and a body surfer, if you will. And the thing that you notice in surfing is most people, the waves keep on coming. Some people just wait forever. They put on a cool wetsuit, they just get on a surfboard and just waiting for the next wave. And sometimes all day long, they're just sitting and doing nothing. And then there are others who just get on the first wave that they see and they wipe out, right? So technology is all about riding the wave in front of you and riding it again and riding it again and riding it again. So in my career, I found that certain waves have come back. And IoT is built on several waves that went before. So give you an example. I started my career in Cape Canaveral. So the solar cells on the shuttle launches and so on have to track where the sun is. It sounds very trivial. Anybody can do that with a Raspberry Pi these days. But we just couldn't do it. We couldn't figure out where the sun was. We couldn't figure out how to make the motors move and track it in real time, and it has to work all the time. We didn't know it was IoT. We were just thinking it as a project. And looked like an idiot because I couldn't figure out how to make it happen 30, 35 years ago. And then the whole manufacturing wave took off. And I didn't know, I was called, I would be considered an OT engineer now, but then the technology was not called OT. They just called me, a manufacturing engineer or a computer hack or whatever the heck they want to call me. So I spent 10 years in J&J and companies like that automating the factory floor. The nice thing is you didn't need any hair products because your hair was just dirty all the time. It was just black with all the dust from manufacturing. But you sit on the shop floor, computer integrated manufacturing was the term that they used, robotics, vision systems, and so on. Funnily enough, after 10 years of working that, all those jobs just disappeared. There was just really no factories around to go automate. They'd all just disappeared. This wave is slowly coming back. I'm kind of learning new terms like IoT and OT and these kind of terms because they're coming back. A lot of people are kind of figuring out, it is time to automate the industrial systems and automation. But that was what 25, 30 years ago, computer integrated manufacturing was very big in this country, if you will. And then internet started getting big around the year 2000 or so. After we stopped working on the Y2K problem, we started getting more on the e-commerce real e-commerce kind of platform. Internet came earlier, but what you do with internet in full steam. So GSK and Honeywell, spent a lot of time there. Honeywell, I spent about 12 years in Honeywell. There are companies like Honeywell, Siemens, GE, Emerson, and so on. They don't call themselves IoT companies, but this is what they've been doing for a long time. So they may not come back and have these cute terms that we've come up with. They may call it building automation system. In fact, that's what it was called, automation and control systems and things like that. And they've been doing this forever. Yet, we're still saying, when is the IoT projects coming? Well, most of these companies became huge because they were doing IoT projects. The things we call IoT projects is what they've been doing forever. So I spent about 11 years or so there, then came into Juniper Networks, came into the Valley, because something is strange about Silicon Valley, as you folks always know. When I was in the East Coast, I just looked at the California and Silicon Valley as crazy people, not really knowing how business works. They're smiling all the time. I don't know why they're happy about everything. So we really didn't get it. So 8 years ago, I decided, or 9 years ago, I decided to come into the Valley just to immerse myself and see what's going on. And there is something very unique and special about this place. There's clearly the amount of networking, amount of intense knowledge that's available in a 10-mile square mile from here is just unbelievable. Almost every industry that you want to, who are creating value in the new economy are a cycling distance from where we are. So that's something very special. And then VMware, I started about 4 or 5 years ago, and VMware got into the space when the cloud really took off. It's one of the companies that I would believe started the cloud journey, first virtualizing your data center, and then enabling you to go to multiple cloud. Interestingly, about 3 years ago, Dell bought this company called EMC, and EMC owned about 80% of VMware, and I was asked to go help do the integration of EMC and Dell together. So I was the CIO for Dell Technologies as well, just doing the integration for VMware, for EMC and Dell. Interestingly, this IoT thing has been going on all along. It's reaching a fever pitch pretty closely. And guess what they asked me to do again is come back and say, I think this IoT and edge computing is pretty big. You seem to have done something before. Can we go look at it? So the point of the matter is the wave just didn't start today. It's been going on a long time, but it's becoming intensified. And sometimes they rebrand it, it comes back, and you just have to be ready. And you don't want to miss the wave this time. You don't want to be waiting for every surfer to get on. The wave have no power behind it before you get on. So I'm urging you to say, I think now I can see that the wave is coming. It's a good opportunity for us to ride it. But then again, we talk about transformation. And I believe humans have been transforming forever, right? I'm a little bit of a history buff. For about 70,000 years, we've been hunter-gatherers, they say. The cultivation started around 30,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, 15,000 years ago, depending on which historian you believe. So it's either Mesopotamia or Göbekli Tepe in Turkey or Indus Valley in India, but wherever in that time range is when we figured out farming. I would submit to you that while we think IoT is very cool and really revolutionary and transformation, the person who started farming probably thought that was the most important thing there is. You don't have to run after animals and catch them. You can actually grow your own food. I think that is pretty revolutionary. So the point being is, we say digital transformation or transformation. We've been transforming forever. This is not new to us. Only about 200, 300 years ago was the whole manufacturing revolution, industrial revolution happened. So that didn't happen too long ago, right? And the computer industry is really, it's really not that long. I mean, water to steam took about 100 years. Electrification about 70 years. The computer industry is almost, I shouldn't say in our career, in my career and few of yours, it just happened during our career time frame. It is not yet mature. I would say we are in early stages of digital transformation as it relates to IT. But what is happening is the pace of change is picked up. That's why you're feeling the pressure of every time you close your eyes, something seems to happen completely differently. The change is happening, but the pace is picked up. So here, when I started, it was the mainframe technology. And the mainframe folks actually fought the people who wanted to do client-server, which is or mid-range computing, which is what I was trying to do. The mid-range computer folks kind of missed the PC revolution. The PC folks kind of missed the internet, web, or mobile revolution, et cetera. And then now the current generation is really thinking, is IoT really happening? Is AI really there? Is blockchain really happening? So our generation of folks who got us here are probably going to resist the next level. So that's my thesis. The change agents are probably here, and the people who are going to resist change are probably here in the audience. And this is a great quote from Bill Gates. We are always overestimating the change that will occur in the next 2 years, but then we underestimate the change that will occur in the next 10. So 5 years ago when the Tesla came out, I'm sure everybody went and said, the old car is dead, and we're all going to be driving self-driving cars. We're not quite there yet, but it will happen. Now people are saying, well, we'll never have self-driving cars because it's too dangerous. Well, that's wrong as well. We know it's going to happen, probably not happening in the time frame that you expect it to happen. And here's a chart that, it's controversial. I have a different view on it, but let me just present it to you. The experts say that innovation has spurned human productivity, which is kind of not arguable, right? Nuclear fission, ATMs, and so on. The place I have the problem is they say email has, kind of doubled or tripled the productivity. In my case, it seems like it's taken my productivity down. But email was pretty important. And now World Wide Web, I have even less time to do anything because I'm on the web all the time. And FANG, your Facebook and the social networks and Google, et cetera, I have no time to do anything anymore. So in my family, the productivity went down, but the experts say, and you could see why, the productivity is just quadrupled with every technology possible. But the adoption takes time. It may look surprising for you, but simple things like telephone technology took about 5 decades to break into a household. It wasn't that easy. My wife works and has been a long-time Bell Labs person, and she hates it when I say things like we should get dial tone. I mean, IoT should work like dial tone. Because she says, you don't understand how hard we worked to get dial tone. It was not given. We had to work through years of innovation to make sure when you pick up the phone, you got a dial tone. And I apologize for people who don't know what a dial tone is. I'm sure there's 20% of the people here don't know what the dial tone is. I can't explain it to you, sorry. So it does take a long time for the telephone to pick up, but interestingly, let's see how long it took for the telephone to pick up. It took from quite a long curve to get every household on the telephone. But look at what the cell phone did, right? So certain technologies, just like that, and it's globally. And a lot of people globally also leapfrog it. So it does take a while for technology to adopt, but the next wave that comes in happens really, really fast. I never thought that my mom would be on WhatsApp. I never thought that was possible, but she's on. And she's sending me messages that she shouldn't be and forwarding things that is inappropriate. We've also seen this pendulum of technology swing back and forth from mainframe to client server to mini computer to data centers, and then everything goes to the cloud is what we heard. And then what we're hearing now is it happens on the cloud and on the edge and on pretty much with IoT. This is going to keep happening, and people are always betting on one or the other. They're saying everything goes to the cloud. The same guy said everything goes to the mainframe. Pretty much the same guys. And then everything goes to PC. Everything is done on mobile. Why not mobile? And only computer there is mobile, et cetera. Without realizing that this pendulum is going to swing back and forth. And I truly believe that edge computing is here to stay. And people who just don't bet on edge computing are doing it at their own peril. It doesn't mean the cloud computing is dead. Cloud is going to grow tremendously and exponentially, both your public cloud, private cloud, and this concept of an edge cloud that's going to happen in factories. So what is the edge? I like to explain this with like the Mars rover project. I mean, what a fabulous piece of invention that is, right? This is a self-driving vehicle in space that nobody talks about. But it's doing things on its own, driving around, taking photos, taking soil samples, and so on. It takes about 13 minutes for a signal to come from Mars to here, right? So if you imagine NASA as the cloud, can you imagine that if there's a dust storm in Mars, the Mars rover asking a question to NASA saying, should I shut this thing down or not? And then wait for another 13 minutes for a reply to come. The storm would have come and gone, right? It has to make decisions, it has to process data at the edge, but also be connected to the NASA cloud, if you will, to make it more intelligent. That's how you get these photographs that are unbelievable from Mars, if you will. But it is a very intelligent device with storage and compute and technology and decision-making right at the edge. Now, this is going to happen in every manufacturing. In fact, it's happening in every manufacturing. People like me who worked in manufacturing shop floor for 10 years will not trust the network, will not trust the network. This barcode reader has to work no matter what happens because you shut production down. It absolutely has to work. And real time, you don't want a self-driving car, see a human being, and then say, shall I call the internet to figure out if I should stop or not? You don't want to do that. You want to make a call. Real time becomes pretty critical. This is why we believe compute must be at the edge. High data volume, obviously. There is the amount of data. The more data you collect, the more intelligence you can do. Right? So you should collect all the data. And sometimes not having the compute at the edge, you throw away good data just to optimize for the computing or costs. Real-time decisions. This is going to get more. Enterprises are going to get more and more real-time, and decisions have to be made in real time. So that you're going to have edge there. And business continuity. Most of your factories and most of your vehicles and oil rigs and so on are going to be in places still that is going to have tough connectivity issues. You cannot just stop production because you have a small connectivity hiccup. Okay, let's talk about something fun. Your things are talking. The question is, are you listening? So let me throw out to you, I have a, I'm sure you all, most of you have, I have a Nest thermostat, I have a Ring doorbell, and I have a Chamberlain garage door opener. I have an automatic sprinkler system. I forget all the names. I have camera systems at home, etc. And I have like 800 applications on my phone that does all of it. So I'm in control. I can look at what, oh, my temperature is 74 degrees at home. Very useful. My garage door is closed. I guess that's semi-useful. You can look at those kind of things. Everyone has a different password, etc. The problem you have is every time there's a dog in front of my house, my Ring doorbell goes off, right? So the sound comes up, I open it up, and oh, there's a dog. You know, so what this is your things are talking. The reason, after a while, you know, I put it on my wife's phone as well, and she liked it for the first 30 minutes or so, and then she took it all off because it was just useless. So things are supposed to do work for you. You're doing work for the things. So we have just sensor-enabled a lot of these things. It's very cool, and that's how technology gets started. But you want these things to do intelligent things. You don't want me, I don't want the doorbell to tell me there's a dog in front of my house. I want it to know that it's a dog and not do anything. I want it to open the door automatically when my family or friends come in. And if a terrorist comes in front of my house, I want it to call FBI. I don't want it to notify me. There's nothing I can do about that data. So the intelligence has to be added. The amount of data captured by these devices are going to be, you know, are mind-boggling. Unless you have AI and you have intelligence, they are going to be pretty much useless for you. So the intersection of AI and data is going to be where things get very interesting for us. Now, data and AI are driving innovations. I mean, the only way you have smart surveillance that we saw before, if you have a lot of data, right? The difference between the AI technologies 30 years ago and now is now you have better compute and you have much better data. So you want to capture every data possible. With a good edge compute infrastructure, you're able to keep the data without spending a lot of money on it. If you don't have that, you start optimizing your costs. You will say, what should I put on the cloud? What should I not put on the cloud? And you try to do sub-optimizations. If you don't have every piece of data, your intelligence is limited. So we are going to go to a world where we're going to capture every data, high-def data about surveillance. Because you may start off with just a security system, then you can start counting the number of people coming in. You can make decisions like Mike Sherwood did in the city of Las Vegas. I'm sure with that system that he implemented, he's going to have applications for the next 10, 15 years. I'm sure there are applications that they haven't thought about. So it's very, very important that and the more and more better your AI algorithms are, the more and more deductions you can do from this. So I see a huge opportunity on the enterprise. But we did a recent survey to say, are we just being optimistic? And what we found in enterprises from the survey is about 80% of enterprises have some plans. That's good news. So 80% of you working in enterprises have some plans to do something on the IoT and edge. 30 to 40% are already implementing right now. So about half of that are actually implementing it. And the rest of them are planned to implement in the next year. So let's say if it's this year, next year, or the year after, within that time frame, you're going to have more than 80% of the organizations looking at IoT and edge use cases. That's pretty staggering data. There are still people sitting on the fence trying to figure out what to do about this, but it's encouraging that a lot of you are already looking at it. Now let's talk about one big challenge that we have on IT and OT, and I'll spend a little bit of time on this because I started as an OT engineer, as you know, and went into IT. It's a silo. Most of the OT folks want to avoid IT folks. They hate the CIO, the CISO, and so on because they block, they slow down things. A lot of the sales, even in my own organization, my IoT division, we don't want the IT person there in the conversation because the sale may get delayed, right? But the IT person has to get involved, absolutely has to get involved because it's not just sensors anymore. The minute you call it IoT and you have internet, it affects your security. So IT has to absolutely get involved. And this convergence has to happen. Some of it is IT folks and OT folks realizing that this needs to come together. Some of it is partners and vendors realizing that they need to bridge this gap. This silo has to be bridged. There are more silos here, though. There are separate networks, there are separate devices, there are siloed use cases. And so to do a smart city or a smart factory or a smart enterprise, you're just integrating across islands of automation. All these needs to be integrated and thought through. The way to think through this is you don't create chaos. To get over chaos, you have to have an architecture. You have to think about the future and build the 6-lane highways and so on so people know what to do in these cases. The other thing in edge computing is we've always tried to take the data from the edge to the cloud. There's a concept of moving from the data centers to centers of data, right? So you go into, keep the data where it is, and have a virtual map of where the data is and do the analysis across the board. You don't just keep transporting data back and forth. That is pretty expensive, especially at the scale in which we are talking about, right? This is our vision. Some people may wonder why Dell and VMware added. Our vision is, we always said any device, any application, any cloud. We want to connect any application, any device, any cloud. We're already connecting multiple clouds. If you look here, hybrid cloud, telco clouds. You know, if you want to go between Amazon and Google Cloud and Microsoft Cloud and your private cloud, you know, we make technology that makes it seamless for you to possible. We're now looking at edge as another cloud use case, as you heard before, just before in the previous analyst presentation. We believe that you want to move compute and data between edge and hybrid computing. And you don't want to be depending on one cloud because all cloud vendors are doing something interesting. And you want to take advantage of everything that they have to offer. So that's the first one. The second thing is we already connect to multiple devices today. We connect to your phones, your Androids and iPhones and so on and manage them and push the right content and secure those devices. We now want to secure all those devices and manage and push the same content for you. And the one way you bridge IT and OT is we give the same kind of traditional applications that people are used to. The same tools they're using in a data center today, you can use to run your edge and IoT. So you don't have to learn two different tools. So that's one of the reasons that we are here. And with Dell, we can do the entire infrastructure. It's not just a software. We can provide it as a service. We can provide it as an appliance. And we can provide it as a rental, subscription, whatever makes sense for you folks. The business value was already covered before, so I'm going to skip through this. It's obviously operational efficiency. That's probably number one that we get. You get superior operation efficiency with data. Customer experience is fabulous. If you have gone to the Amazon Go store, it's good. You just walk in and pick whatever you want and walk out, and your phone gets charged automatically. It's a great experience. So you're going to get more customer efficiency with its safety. Michael actually showed you a few use cases for safety, which is fabulous. And new revenue models. And I'm going to show you some companies that we work with, instead of selling elevators, they do elevators as a service. They can charge you by the number of people they take up and down, if you want it that way. Here are some of the customers we work with. I'm going to highlight a couple of them. You already heard about City of Las Vegas. CSX is a railroad company that uses a product we have called Pulse, which pretty much manages all your edge devices, if you will. It manages, pushes the content, secures them. And I'll talk a little bit about security. All these fun things have to be secured. And so we have a product that they use. AeroFarm's another interesting company. They have an indoor farm, if you will, and they manage the humidity, the temperature, the environment of the farm, indoor farm, and minimize the water usage, et cetera. They analyze everything from seed to the size of the plant, and look at food safety, nutrients, et cetera. Fabulous example of how you do modern farming, if you will. IoT security, I try to not talk about this because I don't want to scare people into this, but this is how your data center looks today. If you go to a data center, I'm exaggerating, but they have armed guards, they have badges, they have 2-3-factor authentication. I cannot go into my data center, and I kind of own the data center. They won't let me go. I have no need to go into the data center. It's very, very secure. This is how your IoT areas look like, okay? Because you don't even know what they are. This is probably a video surveillance system. This is what decides who comes into your building and who doesn't. That's probably the badge reading system that you have. It's probably not installed by your IT person. It's probably installed by your head of security or the guard or somebody else. This is probably installed probably by Dell and with people like Honeywell, et cetera, right? And I don't even know what these things are. But this is how your IoT devices look like right now. Not secure, not clearly secure. We spend a lot of time trying to secure the IT environment. The easiest way for me to crack into your systems now is probably through your OT environment because you don't even know who owns it. And there is no person as OT. There's no head of OT, by the way. There's a security person, there's a head of manufacturing, there's a facilities management person, a guard. There's no division called OT division, right? There's a head of manufacturing. So this is going to be a pretty important one to even figure out who owns it, who installs it, who makes them, et cetera, and how do you secure them. It was not a problem as long as they were not connected to the internet. So the key security challenges are pretty similar to what we have faced in the IT. You want to have, lack of human control, scale, the complexity. I mean, this is even worse than the IT. The scale and complexity is even worse. There's so many devices. This convention center probably has IoT devices that nobody knows that exist. There's probably 3 or 4 gateway devices that people don't even know it's a gateway device right here. So that's the problem that you have. So to make it work, we have looked at the same good practices we had in IT and added to our infrastructure portfolio. You need to least privilege, which means that the reason I can't go into the data center is I have no need to go into the data center. As simple as that. You have to have a need to go, a need to know. Microsegmentation. So X-ray machines in a hospital, it gets infected, it still has to work. You can't shut it down. You can't update it like you can update your phone. But you need to quarantine it so it doesn't infect other computers. So there are things like that we have to do on the OT side that we can learn from the IT side, if you will. Managed patching, I'll just say it in a minute. You can't just automatically patch a robot. You have to go through control procedures, if you will. So let me just close and say a few things. This is an exciting place. We are going to create the future. The wave is coming. Your folks are doing it. Your business is doing it. So I would recommend all of you to get involved in these programs. But build and standardize on the right architecture. That's number one. What you can do today is to decide on architecture, right? And at least have a loose framework of the architecture, but do it right now. No one person or company can handle it. The partnership with Las Vegas was with NTT. But not just Dell and NTT and VMware can handle it. You need a large ecosystem of players who have to work together to make this happen. So you need to make sure you foster an ecosystem of players. It's a very powerful tool, but it comes with risks, as I showed you. I didn't want to scare you, but that's one that keeps me up at night is how many devices do I have and what do they do and who owns them and how does it patch and what version of Linux or Unix or Android are they running? That's what worries me. So thank you very much. I appreciate that opportunity.